program? And maybe for somebody who may have missed out on, what the program really entailed, during that training, are you able to take us through, what really the program was about?
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying, as market players, we constantly ask ourselves, how can we fill the gaps that are there in the entrepreneurial ecosystem? Sure. One of the things that we did when developing this program is ask ourselves how we could strengthen trade relations between Botswana and the US. This is an initiative of the US Embassy, and we say to ourselves, okay, let's move into the US. There's a 300 million market there. We've got entrepreneurs here in productive sectors that are looking for an alternative market beyond the local market. So we developed this program to harness the African Growth Opportunity Act, which is a trade agreement between sub-Saharan Africa and the US. And Botswana has been signatory to this trade agreement for well over 24 years. But quite unfortunately, we've not been making full use of it. So we said, okay, how can we get small businesses to understand the trade agreement, make use of it, and start exporting through it? So this is a duty-free access into the US market. So it's cheaper to trade under this trade agreement. We identified 7 sectors, leather, natural products, agro-processing, jewelry, arts and craft, productive sectors that we know they can be value chain development with, they can be job creation, that are owned by women in Botswana and smallholder farmers. So essentially what we're doing is ensuring that we are capacitating them in terms of their technical and non-technical skills, so their business skills, their business acumen, ensuring that they can really run businesses that are profitable enough to get to a point where they can export. But alongside that is we were really readying them practically in terms of what do you really need to do to get your product into the US market. Right. So we collaborated with other stakeholders, both from public and private sector, to ensure that they are really, when they graduate, they can literally take the product to the US. Yes.
Take me back a little bit. You spoke about how we have these, initiatives or these partnerships that Botswana would have been signatory to for a long time, but we don't fully, make use of these opportunities. What are the challenges there?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a lack of awareness and a lack of knowledge that we've noticed. I think most of the time we do see Botswana signing bilateral agreements and multilateral agreements, and we don't understand what that means. So the Ministry of Trade does a good job at lobbying trade opportunities for Botswana. It is then our responsibility as ecosystem players and entrepreneurs to make use of this agreement. So for 24 years plus, small businesses have not been really making use of an agreement that Botswana long signed unto. So we were raising awareness, helping them understand what this trade agreement is about, how can they then make use of it. So one of the things that we did, for example, is we would work with the Botswana Bureau of Standards, who came in to give a masterclass to say, this is how you get your product to a quality standard that can go into the export market. This is how, with also in partnership with the BITC, Botswana Investment Trade Center, export readiness training, helping the women understand, and then we realize that once they start to understand, they see that, oh, actually there is a market for me, because there's also a bit of an inferiority complex where I can't export to the US, so I'm just going to do small businesses here in my community. But once we unlock that mindset and take them out of the scarcity where we are working with a 2 million market and that's it, we say to them, hey, there's the local market which is 2 million and it's great. Let's fill the local demand, but alongside that, let's tap into other markets, both globally and regionally.
Right. Yeah. We'll come back to the markets and just see how else we'll be exploring these markets through this program. Joy, now coming to you, the graduates have gone through the thorough program. They've graduated. What are the measures that you have put in place to ensure that they're not left behind and they're fully empowered as they go through this transition of coming out of the program and doing the actual job on the ground?
Okay, as a program facilitator, I've ensured that with my co-facilitator that we maintain constant checkup on them. Some of the graduates, we have ensured that they have mentorship. We've collaborated with other people who are already in entrepreneurship and ensure that they have mentorship throughout the whole program, so that they have accountability partners as well, and we just have to ensure that we keep checking up on them to ensure that they're doing what they said that they're gonna do. Yeah.
Right. So how is it looking so far? How easy or difficult is it to do these thorough checks and ensure that everybody is doing what they're meant to do?
So far, it's going so well.
Yeah.
So far, I've had other graduates speak up to me, say, I've had a meeting with my mentor, where he has set targets for me, and I've achieved these type of targets. So it's really so far so good.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. And one of the key opportunities you said that the program brings is access to the U.S. market through the AGOA, right? How easy can it be? Like you were saying, one would have some sort of inferiority complex and doubting themselves and their capacity to actually service the American market. How easy can it be, and what assistance are you offering these graduates to ensure that they fully take advantage of this platform?
Yes. I mean, business is not easy. The export market is particularly more difficult.
Yeah.
Because remember, if we're looking at someone who's producing a natural product based from Murula or based from Singaparili, they need to be able to comply with quality standards, be able to label their product in such a way that is comprehensive. Remember, the US market is also regulated by their own Food and Drugs Authority. So the FDA has its own criteria of assessing that this thing will not contaminate the market in any way. So these are some of the things that it was really important for us to drill into the entrepreneurs. I think we've done a great job at saying to them, hey, there's a 300 million market that is looking for you, and you need to tap into it. Now what you need to do now is ready yourself in terms of making sure that your product is compliant. That's another process, but I think so far we've made a lot of headway in just getting them ready. One of the conversations that we've been having with BITC, who's done such a great job with export development readiness training, is to say the women now have bankable business plans. For them to get into a program of that nature, there's a very high level program that is now graduating them towards getting their products out there. They need to have business plans. Most of our women were doing great with their businesses, but they didn't even have so much as a business plan. Through AWE, we help them create their marketing strategy, their operational strategy, and their financial plans. Because you realize that most of us were just winging it. So we brought structure into their businesses so that beyond AWE, they can graduate into other programs and start getting their goods moving. So I think it's not easy. They also understand that it's not easy, but at least they can fathom it. It's always very unfortunate when our people can't so much as imagine and fathom the prospect of their product getting into that market. So we're making headway, but it's definitely slow progress in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And Joy, coming to you, I'm sure that you'll agree with me that small businesses, especially in Botswana, struggle a lot with financial being financially capacitated. Absolutely. And we've seen a statistic that shows that a lot of startups fail in the first 2 years because of lack of financial capacity, if you will. Absolutely. Are there any funds available with this program, and what does the program really speak to when it comes to the funding part of entrepreneurs and their businesses?
There's no funding, but because there are U.S. Embassy alumni programs. How do I say it? Katlego, assist me there.
U.S. Exchange
yes,
alumni.
U.S. Exchange alumni.
Yeah.
They're able to come and apply for funding for when there's grants and so forth from the U.S. Embassy. So doing this program really helps them to be able to qualify to apply for funds.
Right, yes. Right. And in terms of partnerships, collaboration is, a conversation that is had currently, especially when we're talking about, businesses and growing one's business, especially if you're going to do the export route that you said is very, very difficult and need somebody who's thorough. In that space. What are we talking in terms of partnerships? Was there any part of the training that spoke to partnerships, and what are the conversations that you're having with these entrepreneurs about collaborations?
We actually encourage them to collaborate amongst themselves. Because one thing we've always said is that as Batswana, we're so quick to become competitive rather than collaborating. I mean, most of them are in small sectors, like we said. So we've always said, if you're in piggery, for example, piggery farming, well, how about you collaborate, become a union on your own? That way you're able to really push your sector. I mean, she mentioned Bob's. He also, when we're having the Bob's,
Masterclass.
Yes, masterclass.
Sure.
They talked about, sometimes they are not able to have standards at Bob's because there's no unions. So we encourage that, as graduates of this program, please ensure that you become one. That way you can be able to even push having Bob's have standards for you guys. So we really encourage collaboration for them.
Right. Katlego, you did speak about the vastness of the industries that you went into. Are you able to maybe help us understand who exactly, from your perspective, of the 150 was it 115?
150.
150
Yeah.
businesses that were selected to be a part of this the program. What sectors were we looking at that were more saturated?
Most of we had mostly they were coming from horticulture and agro-processing.
Sure.
Most predominantly, we had 7 sectors in total. We also had a lot from textiles and apparel, so we are seeing a lot of growth in the fashion industry and arts and crafts. And we're very happy about that, because when we were developing the program, we said we want Batswana women across the country. So with arts and crafts, we're able to tap into the Chobe district, in the Ngamilan district, and we could see women that are weaving baskets, and that's a huge market actually for them, for arts and crafts to be able to penetrate the market, because it's a huge fashion industry in the US. But most of them were predominantly coming from horticulture and agro-processing. We had a few from leather. We didn't have as much from jewelry, but we had quite a number. And the natural products, of course, and we really love the idea of natural products coming in strong, because we've got such an edge and a niche in that no one has Singapore really the way we do and understands it the way we do. So the way we process things, there's a unique indigenous knowledge to it that we believe gives us edge as a country in markets such as the US. So it's been very interesting to see. And just to add on what Joy said about collaboration, a very, very important thing. As US Exchange alumni, you know, most of these grants are best for an association of an industry. So one of the things we've been really encouraging them is that existing associations, join associations. If there is no association in your industry, be the one that comes up with that association and builds it strong, because when it comes to grant funding that is available to you as alumni, it will be great for you to come as a non-profit organization to build your industry. Because with this kind of initiatives, they're trying to develop the industry, not the single entrepreneur alone, right? And then one of the things that we did also to address the issue of funding, besides just helping them develop their financial plans through the platform that we were using, we also brought in First National Bank Botswana. And I must say, FNB is a strong ally for industry development. And we're very pleased that every time we call them, they've showed up to come and help the entrepreneurs understand the products that are available to them. And they took them through the masterclass of saying, okay, these are the trade finance options that you could get if you had a buyer in the US. And it was very important, because what we've seen in the past is entrepreneurs, they'll be able to service the first order. But then as the quantities increase, they don't have the capacity to build it. Very critical for them to collaborate so that they can meet the numbers. So one of the things that we are hoping we can see after this program is to see a consignment of the graduates going to the US. Because then Rabatla, as a group of them, and then fill a single container, then they can spread the cost of exporting, as opposed to when they are exporting in small batches. And also as the orders come in, because the US market is a huge market, and they really buy. This is a market that really consumes, and they love luxury, right? So the numbers really come very quickly, and you start to see that our entrepreneurs can't keep up with the demand, because they're not scaling at the level that is needed. So this was some of the things that we're trying to position them such that once they start to see those quantities, they've got where they can go for funding. They've got where they can go for a trade finance options to service their orders. So I think we've done relatively well, and I'm very happy that the women, they were committed. That's the one thing that really stood out for me. They were committed. We onboarded 150. Yes, we had a few dropouts. We're going to graduate nearly 120. So we're quite happy that, you know, the rate at which we have been able to retain them over a 6-month period as small businesses as small business owners who are so busy, but yet be able to commit to a 6-month program. It shows me that they are really serious about it, and they will see it through.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that you'll agree with me, Joy, that the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs is a thorough initiative that is very needed, especially in Botswana, you know, where we don't have access to markets easily, and, you know, we don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to entrepreneurship. And, you know, you spoke about very important stakeholders, the likes of FNB, you know, and everybody else who came to the fore to also bring master classes to capacitate these women, to ensure that when they reach another market, they're thoroughly capacitated and fully aware of what to expect in that regard. What could we say is the future in this regard of AWE? Can we expect that there'll be another cohort that's coming also to enjoy, you know, the benefits that these graduates would have enjoyed?
We absolutely hope that there will be another AWE. I trust that there will be another one.
Yeah.
Because as a facilitator, I saw that there was so many entrepreneurs there, like I said, like she's mentioned, 120. Most of them have started their businesses, but you would find that they actually don't even know small things as market, how to price, how to do costs. So that program really, with the 6 months program, there was so much that they learned from it. I'm an entrepreneur as well, but I also learned through the program because after being in entrepreneurship for about 6 years, you sort of neglect the small little things, your marketing strategies, so many things. So through the program as well as a facilitator, I was able to learn these things. And you know, the fact that there were entrepreneurs who already have started their businesses, you learn about their challenges as well. So it's also a little bit comforting when you're like, oh, so I'm not the only one who's going through this. So it was really, it's a very impactful program, and I trust that it will come back.
And I was going to come to you, Katlego, to say, are you able to corroborate Joy's words and say, in actual fact, it will come back?
We hope so. I mean, this is a US-funded program, so we do hope that next year we'll be able to run it again. This was 2024 cohort. We're quite optimistic that we'll keep running it. And you know, you need to understand that this is a program that has been running since 2019 across 100 countries. You know, so it's not just the cohort it runs across so many regions, including the West and the Pacific areas and Europe and Asia, you know. So well over 25,000 women have graduated through this program throughout the world. So the really cool thing about it is that the women also tap into now a network of women across the world that have graduated from this program. So I am quite optimistic that we'll keep running it in Botswana even next year.
Absolutely. Certainly. And for somebody who might be listening to you right now and wondering what are the requirements for me, if maybe I missed out on this particular cohort, the 2024 cohort, what is required of me as an entrepreneur to make sure that I become a part of the next one if it comes?
So we tailor-make the program each year. This particular cohort, we were focusing on the specific sectors, right? And we're looking for businesses that had been trading. You know, we wanted to see that there was commitment, people that were able to bend with the curves during COVID-19, that were able to sustain themselves throughout. So we're always trying to look at a segment that is, I think it's highly unserviced in our ecosystem. Most of the time, the programs are tailored at like entry-level SMEs. So it has been very, very important for us to look at entrepreneurs right in the middle that need to grow and scale up. So I think we are making good progress in that regard. We're going to keep looking at entrepreneurs that are right there in the middle that can actually create jobs and actually start trading. So that's the eligibility criteria. We need businesses that, someone who's been putting skin in the game, someone who has been showing that they've got commitment and can actually get into the export market.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me this morning, really, to talk to us about this very, very important program. We definitely hope that it will come again. It's very, very important to the entrepreneurial landscape of Botswana. I'm sure that you will agree with me in that respect. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And that's what we leave it for this morning. We're in conversation this morning with the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs representatives. We were joined by the program lead, Mokgethi, as well as the program facilitator, Joy Nametsegang, to discuss how this program has gone. We have heard that they will be graduating about 120 women from this very thorough program. So that's very exciting news, and definitely we will be looking to see how they will be changing the local entrepreneurial space as we know it. Coming at the top of the hour, look out for the news. Stick and stay with us.
This is us. We like walk, talk, and dance until the earth shakes. We like to play. After all, our backyard is 75,000 square kilometers of pristine wilderness. At night, we celebrate under the blanket of the stars. And when day rewards night with a beautiful sunrise, we are welcoming Dumela. So come and fall in love with Botswana. Our pride, your destination.